So we're here today with our friend Laurie Olerich, and we wanted to talk a little bit about her amazing series, the Primani Series. It starts with the first book, Primani. We've got Call the Lightning, Stone Angels, and the fourth book will be coming out soon, so you'll make sure to want to check Amazon for that. So we're just going to do a little chat, and we hope you enjoy what you learn. So Laurie, where are you from, and where did your love of writing come from?
Well, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in a little town called Beaver. Everybody always
Sorry, my mind just traveled.
I went to Beaver High School and lived in Beaver Valley in Beaver County in the town of Beaver.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, there was a thing with beavers there. So I moved from there to Texas, and I actually finished high school in Angleton, Texas.
Okay.
So I consider myself a transplanted Yankee. I've been in Texas longer than I've been up north.
Okay.
So my love of writing basically came from my love of reading. I have loved pretty much every genre over the years, and it's always been my great escape. So eventually I thought, I could do this.
Right.
Now it's my real escape, because now I can create all the characters and the cities and things that I want.
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Well, the world that you've created with these books is terrific. So it takes a heck of an imagination to do that.
Oh, thank you.
I've read the first two books, so and I will tell you, I paid for them, and they were worth every penny. So I'm very happy to say that. So what inspired you to write this story? Where did the idea for it come from?
Well, funny you should ask. Micah is a little bit of my alter ego. When I first started Primani, I intended it to be a young adult book, just one book.
Right.
And it was kind of a chronicle of kind of my life, because I had sort of a rough start, and I thought it would be kind of fun to make that into a fictionalized story that young adults could, look at and enjoy. But as I got into the book, I realized that my story was really kind of boring, and it would be so much more fun if they had supernatural powers and, some cool guns and interesting explosions and things like that, which never happened in my life. So I cut out the first 6 chapters and made it a older, more of a new adult story, dealing with paranormal romance, supernatural powers, psychic abilities, and all those really cool things that were not in my life.
Right.
So that's where it started, and my mother is very happy that I cut out those first 6 chapters.
Well, one day maybe we'll get to read them. I'm sure you've saved them somewhere.
I did.
Once it hits a New York Times bestseller list, maybe they'll come out somewhere.
Yes, maybe.
So how long did they take to write? How long did the first book take?
Well, the first book took about maybe 4 full writing months. Took me about 6 months or so to do it, but about 4 months of actual writing and a couple of months of playing with it and tweaking it and trying to get it to where I was happy with it. The second one took about the same. It was about 6 or 7 months for this one, and then this one took the longest writing time.
Right. I can't wait to start this. I've actually started the first couple of chapters, but I'm not that far in yet. So, but the other 2 books are terrific, so I would imagine this one will hold as well. So, I know you were in the military.
Yes.
And you were in the Air Force.
Right.
Did that influence any of the things that occur in your books? Or how did that influence your writing style?
Well, I don't know that it influenced my writing style, other than possibly the use of profanity that's sprinkled throughout the books.
It's light, don't worry.
It's not too bad. But growing up in the military, I spent 20 years in the service around a lot of cops and mechanics and fuels people and kind of the, some IT types, but mostly it was, your manly men. And there's a lot of swearing that goes on.
Yes.
So I have to trim that back when I write, because otherwise every character has a potty mouth.
Right.
Every one of them.
Right.
So I had to really, when I edited, I took out a lot of F words.
Right.
Another F-bomb. Took a lot of that out. But it influenced a lot of what I do in the books, too, because, as you read them, that there's a lot of special ops kind of feel to it.
Yes, absolutely.
I love guns. I love shooting. I actually used to own quite a few guns, and I like to target shoot. So, including that sort of activity in the books was something I couldn't let go. I had to include that kind of paranormal, paramilitary feel to it.
Right. I find it really funny that Micah's the one who uses the language, and all of our hero guys actually are reminding her often, watch your language. And I think that's really funny because it's an interesting twist.
Well, yeah, and Micah is, she's kind of an independent, free spirit kind of character, and she does what she wants to do. They are actually on their best behavior, and that's the thing, is the first 2 books are written from her point of view.
Right.
And you see them from how she sees them.
Right.
And they try to be, respectful, and they try to kind of behave themselves, and you really don't see who they are nearly as much as you do in Stone Angels when there are many chapters, and almost every other chapter is written from either Killian or Sean's POV.
Right.
When they're away from her.
Oh, okay.
So you see them interrogating prisoners, you see them gutting demons, you see them, searching through wreckage or whatever. And you see what they do, you hear their thoughts. And their language is quite salty.
Okay.
When they're not around her.
Sure. They treat her with a lot of deference, which is really sweet.
Yeah. They try to treat her with respect.
Right.
When they're by themselves, though, they're guys.
They're guys.
They're manly men.
Right. Very good. Well, I mean, we wouldn't want them to be any other way. So.
Right.
What is your favorite thing? What do you like about writing? What is it that makes you want to do this?
Escapism.
Sure.
That is so easy. I have such a boring life. Really, I do. I have a very boring, dull life, and being able to make my own world and shape it how I would like to be in it,
right,
is the great escape for me.
So, would you like to be your own action hero?
Yes. I would like to be Micah.
Yeah.
I would like to have the energy to take the Krav Maga classes.
Right.
To beat the crap out of bad guys.
Yeah.
Shoot people.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
She gets hurt a lot, but it doesn't slow her down most of the time. She's right back in and ready to mix it up some more.
Yeah. She refuses to be a victim.
Exactly.
She refuses to lay down and let the world kick her in the teeth.
Right.
She's just not going to do it.
She's definitely her own person.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing?
Ending the book.
Yeah.
It is so hard to write the ending because it's saying goodbye.
Right.
It's ending, it's like, I don't know, it's like cutting off an arm because, they're done.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's 3.
Right.
It was harder to say goodbye, so I kind of kept going.
Right. Well, and there'll be a 4th book coming out, so
yes,
we're still not ready to say goodbye, which is good.
No, and then the 4th book, just to clarify for anybody who hasn't read the series, the first 3 really form a trilogy.
Right.
And I'm in the process of trying to come up with a name for the trilogy that's a little bit distinctive from the rest of the series, because this really is all tied together.
Right.
And the next 3 books are standalone.
Okay.
So this is Micah's transformation and really her story.
It's really her coming of age.
Yes, it is her story. It's her evolution from an 18-year-old kid to a grown woman of about 28.
Right.
This one ends with her own life and her own responsibilities and everything that happens to her.
Right.
And the rest are standalone, so they're part of the same character set.
Which is good because you don't have to leave the characters you love.
Right. And they're all in the next book as well.
Right. That's always fun as a reader, because you do fall in love with the characters and you want to be able to see them. You're not ready to leave them any more as a reader than you are as a writer, I'm sure.
No, and I think that people evolve over years. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why the series actually goes over about a 5-year period, because they evolve over years.
Right.
And I think it's hard to show in one, 200-page book the evolution of years.
Absolutely.
The things that shape you. It takes some time, the ups and downs of life.
Right.
And so the different characters evolve across the books, and then you see them in these new books.
Right. Well, and in the first book, Micah's life experience defines some things happen to her at the beginning that really define her progression.
Yes.
So it's very good writing that allows you to see that from the start. You get to see her progress and her grow and overcome her situations.
Yeah.
We're trying not to give anything away because we want you to read the series. It's awesome.
Yeah, there are a lot of spoilers that we could give you, but we don't want to.
No, where would be the fun in that? If we just tell you what the book is about, then where would be the fun there?
Right.
You want to experience and enjoy it for the first time, like I did. I'm reading some notes if you haven't figured that out. So what is it that you like most about your four main characters? We have Micah, Sean, Killian, and Declan, or Deck as it's called.
Deck. Well, let's see. Well, for Micah, it'd be pretty simple. I love that Micah is strong and independent. She doesn't take any crap from anybody. She is vulnerable, so I think she has a soft side.
Sure.
But she is determined to live her life on her terms.
Right.
So I really admire that. A lot of people cannot do that. Killian is just smoking hot.
Right.
But he's not such an alpha male that he's, throwing people over his shoulder and, tossing the wench behind him and moving on.
Right.
He knows who he is.
Right.
He's confident. He is the guy that's in charge. And I
Yeah.
love that about him because he doesn't say much.
Right.
He's quiet, but there's an underlying power in him that makes you kind of step away.
Right.
And I love that about him. He gives you that little shiver when he comes into the scene.
Well, and all of, you can tell from Sean and from Deck that they look to him as the leader of their group, and they have a lot of respect for him. And given their power, that says a lot about him.
Yeah, and he is. The guys are set up in an ops cell.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's 3 to 4 guys,
Right.
Primani in a cell. And he is their ops leader for that entire New England division.
Right.
So, he's the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you find out, I think in Call the Lightning, you find out when they were born.
Right, you do.
You do. And they can be quite old. But yeah, he's the oldest and he's the most knowledgeable. And as you read through the series, particularly in Call the Lightning, it comes out, he's not simply a Primani. He has ancestral powers from his parental lineage.
Right.
I guess. So he's a special kind of treat all of
Yes.
his own. And then Sean and Killian, to finish your question, Sean is just, he's fun. He's kind of stick in the mud. He doesn't have much of a sense of humor most of the time. Doesn't say much, but his heart's in the right place, and he'd kill anything or anybody to protect Micah.
Right.
But he's kind of just a guy. He's just a guy. And then Declan is the sweet one.
Yeah.
He's the one that likes poetry and music, and he's the healer, and his healing skills come into play not only with Micah.
Sure.
But as through the books, he becomes very important to the team.
Right.
And he really keeps, one of the problems when something happens to Deck is that he is the one piece of the puzzle that keeps the guys from losing their humanity.
Right.
And that's what you learn more about that in Stone Angels.
Mm-hmm.
With Sean's problems,
Right.
is his anchor is gone and he
Right.
doesn't really know what to do.
Right.
He keeps him human.
Yeah.
As far as supernatural, non-human
Right.
creatures can be.
Well, and that probably leads up to what would be a good description of the Primani, because we've mentioned the word a lot, but at this point,
What are
the
they?
only thing you know is that they're supernatural.
What are they? Well, Primani are not to be confused with angels. They're not, strictly speaking, angels.
Right.
They are supernatural soldiers. They once were warriors in whatever culture they were in. These three in particular are Celtic in origin, but there are Primani that are descended from Genghis Khan. There are Primani that come from Northern Europe, from the
Sure.
Vikings, and you meet them a little bit as the story progresses, but they're handpicked. They're super warriors in their own time, and they are handpicked for their valor and their strength and their courage and their pureness of heart, if you will. But they're picked by the Archangels to become Primani, and in order to become Primani, they have to become immortal.
Right.
Otherwise, why would you pick them? They're going to die. So the Archangels aren't stupid.
Right.
They give them some of their blood in order to give them their immortality and some of their supernatural powers. And they basically, their whole mission is to keep chaos on the planet in some sort of control.
Right.
So that humans have a fighting chance.
Right. So that the demons don't run roughshod over everything and create all of the chaos that they already do.
Yeah, demons are bad enough, and they allow they allow some sort of chaos because you can't get rid of all of it. But they basically hunt demons and take care of all the nefarious plots that come afoot from the demons.
Right.
But what I like about them is they have a loose code of morals that they follow. They're not religious.
Right.
Yes, they are very respectful of God, and I don't disrespect God in my series, but they're not fluffy winged angels running around with harps and, all that sort of thing.
Right.
They're more like mercenaries.
Right.
They're told to go kill somebody, they go kill that person.
Right.
And they kill people too. Which is my, my literary license.
Right.
If, somebody's a serial killer and nobody can catch him, then maybe they might go after him and just...
Right.
And they're kind of above the law.
Right. Well, there's a really funny scene in the first book where Micah realizes what they are, and she lifts Sean's shirt to see if he's got wings, because she thinks he's an angel.
Right.
And it's just hysterical, because there's no wings. You would be able to see them.
They'd stick out somehow.
They would kind of stick out, but it's really cute because she has this feeling and knows what they are, but she's got to look, see if he's got wings, which I thought was really funny.
And he's like, he looks
Are
over his shoulder.
disappointed?
She's like, no wings? And he's like, no. No fluffy wings.
But we do get to see the Archangels in this, which is fun. And they have really interesting personalities.
Do you like Raphael?
I do.
I love Raphael.
Yeah.
I've seen him portrayed in other people's books, and I've seen him portrayed as everything from a total douche, who's out for himself, just an arrogant jerk.
Right.
And I've seen him portrayed as a sex-starved stud who's having sex with every human he can find, and I'm like, somehow I don't think that, the angel of science, the angel of knowledge, the angel of, healing would be out treating people this way.
Right.
Because I tried to stick to, when it comes to the Archangels, I tried to stick to the kind of true angel lore.
Right.
More of the biblical lore of the angels. So in Stone Angels, you get to meet Michael more and Uriel and Gabriel.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah. They have a small appearance.
Sure.
But I tried to stick to their kind of historical truths as much as you can do in fiction, I guess.
Right. But it's easy. I mean, it's a good thing to do because it doesn't take the reader out. If you did something just totally off, then as a reader, it would really throw you off, I think. So there's already enough to get used to with the story and the really cool world and the great characters. So
I love my characters.
They're awesome. So, are there any traits for your characters that they would find annoying or that you find annoying?
Not very many. I mean, I wrote them to be perfect, so it's hard to be annoyed with them.
Right.
But I think that Sean can be a little bit of a child. I think he is sulky.
Sure.
And, he's not super in touch with his feelings, which is, part of the problem throughout the whole
Right.
story is he just doesn't quite get where he's coming from. He
Right.
doesn't know himself. So that's a little annoying, I think. If I was Micah, I'd punch him in the head.
Right.
But she seems to like him, so.
Well, and he's dealing with feelings or, from a relationship standpoint that he hasn't had before. So.
Yeah. It's a little overwhelming.
It's a little bit much. It's not normal for them to form these kind of bonds with humans.
No. And the way that he formed that physical bond with Micah by sharing his soul.
Right.
That's an issue.
Right.
And that becomes a huge problem as the story goes on.
Sure.
They think it's kind of like an oops, crap, what did I just do?
Right.
But it becomes such a huge problem. By the time you get to the end of this book, it's a game changer.
Right.
So, I mean, he managed to change Micah's entire existence, and he doesn't even know it yet. So it's kind of fun to see that play out.
Right. Are there any things that they would find annoying about each other?
Well, I think that out of the three of the guys, probably Sean and Killian are the only two that really kind of bump heads. Deck is a peacemaker. He's happy with everybody. He gets frustrated when they fight, because he is a peacemaker. He gets frustrated when they're at odds at all.
Sure.
For him, that's just not okay.
Right.
In their minds, they're brothers.
Right.
Even though they're not physically related, they've fought by each other for so long. They're brothers.
Right.
And so they're gonna have issues.
Yeah.
So that's all I can think of.
They're fun characters, and Micah can be a little bossy, but
I think that's normal.
I think so.
If you were in that position,
Sure.
you would be bossy too.
Right.
Or at least I would be.
Right.
Because I'm bossy anyway.
She's changing so much too, and she doesn't understand everything that's happening to her. So.
And they keep a lot from her.
They do.
So she's operating on a set of assumptions.
Right.
That changes.
Right.
Every couple of years.
And sometimes she gets hurt because she doesn't have all the information.
Right.
So it's a fine line between giving her everything she needs to know and protecting her.
Right. And sometimes, as they learn throughout the stories, sometimes the demons don't give them a chance to give her any additional information.
Right.
So if she's snatched off the streets, well, okay.
Right.
No opportunity.
So, this is your first book. Did you have any doubt about putting it out there? How do you deal with those little niggling things in the back of your mind, or do you?
I do. I do deal with them. I do have them. With the first one, I was so excited about it, and I had let so many people read chapters and half the book and then all the book, and I had a lot of people reading it, and I really liked it. And I thought, what, this is good. It's a first book. I know that it's not perfect. I had multiple people reviewing it, finding inconsistencies and things like that for me. So I think it's consistent. I think the plot is consistent. And I really was happy with it. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't super nervous about that book. And as I was writing through them, I was just more excited about the story flowing.
Right.
But when I put Stone Angels out, I really wanted it to be well accepted. And part of the reason was I really thought that it was the best of the three. Mm-hmm. I think my writing has changed a lot. I think my writing has improved a lot. In this book, I used the different POVs, which I thought really made the story stronger.
Sure. And
added a lot of depth to it. And a lot of people like the other characters. If you like the male characters and you only see them from her point of view,
right,
you miss stuff.
Right.
And so I really thought this was going to be the best book.
Right.
And so I was really nervous about putting it out. And I think it's been well received, but I'm still hoping that the whole series will kind of catch fire.
Right.
And just explode.
Yeah.
At some point.
Well, it's a good series it's not age specific. I mean, I think my 17-year-old nephew would really enjoy it. It's not age specific in that sense. It's not for really young kids. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you reading it to your 6-year-old necessarily because there's a lot of violence. But
bad language.
I also wouldn't have a problem with a 14 or 15-year-old reading it because there's some hints at sexuality, but it's not overly explicit.
Right.
So they're not gonna you're not gonna have to worry about them getting lessons from.
It's not step by step how to have sex.
No, it's not a how-to manual. But there's a lot of interest and action and suspense. So that age group would like it. As an adult, we see a lot of really interesting things in the character and the dynamics and the relationships. And so I don't think it's, really age specific, which is interesting because I love books like that.
I have people who are fans who are from 13 to 65.
There you go.
And, and again, the sex, I did not market it to young adults because there is, especially in Primani, the sexual situations are more alluded to.
Yes.
There's not a whole lot of description. I think it's steamy. I think it's a little, there's lots of sexual tension.
Sure.
But I don't describe everything in a lot of detail. It changes a bit as the books progress.
Right.
There's, and for me, it's natural because the characters are aging.
Exactly.
They're having different thoughts about each other. They have more sexual experience.
Sure.
So the things that they do are a little bit more different. And so the descriptions get a little bit more steamy as the series progresses. This one has chapter 5.
Okay, I haven't gotten that far yet.
My favorite chapter is awesome. Chapter 5.
So you might want to be a little bit older to read chapter 5.
Chapter 5. It is still not explicit.
Right.
And, I would like to, just for people who might be thinking about my other books that at some point will be out by the time you see this video, I do write more explicit sex scenes.
Sure.
But for this set of characters, I really thought that the sensuality and the mysticism of their blood connection and their magical connections was enough. I think that was the important part of their sexuality. It wasn't, can he stick his blank inside her blank and do something with it?
Right.
It was, what does that connection feel like to be connected mind, body, and soul?
Right.
And so that's kind of how I wanted to project their sexuality as being more spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
and more sensual.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm writing some other books right now that would make my mother cringe. And guarantee you I will not ask her to read them.
Right.
But for these guys, I think that, especially chapter 5.
I can't wait to read that. Then I may have to sneak ahead. I think I'm on chapter 3. So, but I just finished this yesterday, so I haven't had a lot of time to get started yet. So let's move. We've talked a lot about the book, so let's talk about some fun things. If you could be any famous person for just a day, who would you be and why?
Any famous person.
Living or dead?
Living or dead. Does it have to be a real person, or can it be a character?
Well, I tend to think a lot of times that my characters are real people, so
I want to be Indiana Jones.
That's a good one.
I've always wanted to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I want to have the hat. I want to have the whip. I want to have the antique gun stuck in the back of my pants. And I want to go crawl through caves and tombs and not the snakes or the rats or the cockroaches, but all the other stuff. I've always wanted to be Indiana Jones.
That would be a fun character to be.
I like the mystery. I've always been, even when I was a little kid, I used to invent mysteries in my neighborhood and go around searching through people's yards for clues. And
any restraining orders we need to know about?
But Nancy Drew, I went to a bookstore the other day and they had the first 5 Nancy Drew books re-released.
Sure.
Shiny new covers.
I remember reading those as a child.
Oh, the case
Love
of the
Nancy
broken
Drew.
clock, the hidden stairway. I was like, Nancy Drew.
Right.
Yeah, I want to be a detective, so I'm thinking Indiana Jones. That's me.
That's a good character to be. I loved all the Nancy Drew books. Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Some of my first loves in reading.
I read all of them.
Yeah. So, what would your dream vacation be?
Dream vacation would probably be another trip back to Europe. I think I would probably do Scotland this time.
Okay.
I went to Ireland last year and saw everything that I ever wanted to see.
And drink a beer, I hope.
I did. I drank real Murphy's and real Guinness and a few little brews from different towns along the way that I don't even know what they were now. Yeah, lots of beer.
Yeah. That's fun. You have to. I don't think they let you in if you don't plan on drinking a lot of beer.
No. You have to sign a waiver at the border.
I think so. They may do breathalyzers to make sure you've consumed enough before they let you leave. I'm not sure.
That's possible.
So, what other authors, when you're not writing, who do you read?
I have really branched out. I took kind of a hiatus from reading for several years when I was working on some schoolwork. I didn't have a lot of time to read, but now I'm actually reading again, and I found some new authors that I love. Angie Fox.
Okay.
Angie Fox does a series called The Accidental Demon Slayer.
Okay.
It's hysterical. Another one I really like, Laura Kantowski. And Laura is a friend of mine, but she writes a Fate series. It's called the Fate series. And it's an urban fantasy romance. Awesome. And I've started reading erotic romance. I have never read, quote, quote, erotic romance.
Right.
Never. And I went to Wild Wicked Weekend.
That's where Lori and I met.
Yes, Wild Wicked
Weekend.
And
there are things that stay at Wild Wicked Weekend.
We don't.
We're not discussing those.
No. But I met all these authors who wrote erotica or erotic romance, and I thought, man, a lot of people are reading this stuff. Maybe I should look at something. So I found a few that I really like. I like Eve Langlaise.
Okay.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Eve Langlaise.
We'll say that.
What she writes about isn't something I typically would have read, but she's hysterically funny. It's hysterical. I'm like giggling through the whole book because it's just funny. She's very witty. So I thought, I like this. And then, so Laura, Eve, Angie Fox, and I do read some J.R. Ward. I don't like the Black Dagger Brotherhood series as much as I like the Possession series. Or the Fallen Angel series.
The Fallen Angel series. I've read the first couple of those.
I love those books. And I gotta say, though, that I don't care less about the souls they're saving, which is the romance part of the book.
Sure.
That's a whole focus, right, is that romance between the two people.
Right.
I like the Fallen Angels. I mean, I am rooting for Adrian to not go to hell.
Right.
And I don't really care if the two souls die or not.
Right.
I'm like, come on, Adrian. So, yeah, I like that series.
Right. I've read actually all of the Black Dagger books too. So that was my first foray into something a little spicier, I think. So
yes, I started reading those on the advice of a friend, and I did like them, but I like her Fallen Angel series better.
The first few books, I think I've read the first two, and they're really good.
Yeah, and they just get better. I mean, the tension between the angels is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like those.
Very cool. So what do you do when you're not writing?
Edit. Social media. For my books. What do I like to do? I like to cook.
Okay.
I like to have dinner parties. I do hang out with some friends. I'm making a very conscious effort, and I'm saying this for the public, making a very conscious effort to entertain or go out with friends at least once every 2 weeks. Because I hibernate.
See, I thought she was going to say once a day. So,
no.
Once every 2 weeks. Okay.
I'm practical.
We're going to hold you to that.
Every day isn't going to happen.
No.
But, when I'm writing, I'm like in a cave.
Sure.
And so I have to make a conscious effort to get out of the house, go see friends, have lunch. Yeah, that's my plan for the year.
Right.
But yeah, I used to hike a lot. I used to do a lot of other things. But I've pretty much hiked in every place around San Antonio, and I'm kind of bored with it.
Right. Oh, in the hill country, we have a lot of really interesting hiking places. So,
Yes.
And you already know you have a place to stay. So
I need to come north.
Come north a little bit. It's not any cooler, unfortunately, but well, it is cooler. It's just not temperature cooler.
Right.
No, actually, San Antonio is a great place. So, what is the oldest thing in your refrigerator?
Oldest thing.
How old is it?
Okay, I'm gonna say my little container of green peppercorns. I bought it for a recipe, and I don't use them very often, so it's probably 2 years old.
Okay.
It's probably time to throw them away.
I think I have a tube of anchovy paste that probably has that beat. For making Caesar salad dressing.
Yeah, that you don't eat very often.
No. I just kind of don't do a lot with anchovy paste.
You know what? I've been saying for years that I don't like anchovies until I realized that Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it.
Right.
I was like, crap, really?
Yeah.
I guess I do like anchovies. I just don't like them on my pizza.
No fish on my pizza either.
I don't want to look at them.
Right. What's your favorite food?
Ooh. Pick a category, narrow it down.
Oh, dessert.
Dessert.
Everybody's favorite dessert, right?
Creme brulee.
Okay. One of the easier desserts to make from what I understand, although I've never made one.
I love creme brulee. I have a creme brulee
Oh!
thingy.
You've mastered the art of the flame.
Yes, burning it. And I like panna cotta too.
Okay.
I guess I'm a creamy,
Right.
pudding-ish kind of person.
My husband would love that. That's kind of his thing. Flans and those sorts of things. I'm chocolate. I'm all about the chocolate. So
I do like chocolate.
yeah.
But my favorite dessert would probably be panna cotta.
Right. Very good.
Or, no, not panna cotta.
So what is the most interesting thing about yourself that very few people know?
Ooh. Interesting, but not too revealing. I am going to that conference in August.
Okay. In New York?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not very interesting. I think probably something that most people don't know is, I have this weird zombie thing. I think the whole zombie apocalypse phenomenon is hysterical. And I'm all in. We have weapons. We have weapons in the garage. We've made, barriers for the house.
So you're prepping for the zombie apocalypse.
Yep. Even though I know there are no such things as zombies and that's not ever going to happen, it's just fun.
Well, if you saw World War Z, you never know.
I know there's all the movies and books and all that stuff, and, it's fun to prep.
Sure.
Even though I hope that nobody turns into a zombie and tries to eat my head.
Right. Well, if you love zombies, have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
8 million times.
My favorite zombie movie. I cannot watch that movie without tears streaming down my face before it's over.
Yeah. I like it when his mother dies.
There's not a single thing about that movie I don't love. I start laughing from almost the second the credits start rolling at the beginning. That is such a wonderful movie.
Yep.
It's the quintessential zombie movie if you like zombies.
It's
if you like the funny zombie stuff.
And the other one was really good too. The one with Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
I don't remember what that was called. With the Twinkies.
Zombieland, yes. And Bill
Zombieland.
Murray had just one of the funniest zombie scenes.
Yes. That was funny.
And you realize that man has not aged well. Sorry, Bill.
You will not be on my book covers.
Sorry. Okay, so what can readers expect going forward? So we know we've got the first three, and they're basically a set. So you've got to buy all three. They're all out. There's no excuse. So get all three.
Right.
We've got the fourth book coming out.
Yes.
And that's going to focus on who?
Okay, the fourth book is called Broken Souls. And
Great name.
Broken Souls, I love that name. Broken Souls, it's really Deck's story.
Okay.
And I'm introducing quite a few new characters.
Right.
So you meet Rory. Rory is his love interest, and she is kind of a sad character at first. You know, she lives in Brooklyn. She's broke. She lives in a rat-infested apartment. Her window's broken. There's a pervert next door that's always staring in her window. She doesn't have any food. She's about 20 pounds underweight. She's very skinny, and she's doing the best she can, but she doesn't have anything. Mother's dead. She doesn't know who her father is. She has no friends, but she does have a little bit of help. A little old man who meets her at the library. You know, it all takes place in New York City, which is a lot of fun for me. It's my favorite city.
Right.
So a lot of the book takes place at like the Met.
Sure.
The public library with the big lions.
Right.
You know, a lot of it's set in those areas. Central Park. And you'll meet Rain. Rain is yummy. He's yummy. And I actually am going to use him in a crossover series.
Okay.
So in addition to writing, so you have Deck's story, and the next story after that I've already started is Sean's story.
Okay.
And it deals with, and it's kind of going to be different because it's a past, present kind of book.
Sure.
And so there'll be part 1 and part 2 of the book.
Okay.
That's going to come out probably not for another year though, because I've started another series.
Okay.
That is not related, but it's called Bad Bad Demon.
Okay.
And Bad Bad Demon is not a romance.
Okay.
Not even in the loosest of terms.
Okay.
But it's awesome. It's as hardcore as you can get, and Rain will be in that series as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it talks about a group of 4 special ops army guys who get out of the army after Afghanistan, and it kind of chronicles their world a little bit. And Rain is one of those guys. So you meet him in the Primani Series,
right.
But then he's actually a main character in this other series.
And not supernatural, or?
He's not.
Okay.
He does have some psychic abilities.
Okay.
Which he gets from Declan.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of funny, and this is a little, not really a spoiler, but just a little tease. Mm-hmm. Rain and Rory like each other, and Deck is not supposed to be involved.
Okay.
But he doesn't like Rain.
Sure.
But he can't find a reason to hate him.
Right.
Because Rain is a stand-up guy.
Right.
And he's just an awesome guy. And Deck really tries hard to hate him.
Yeah.
And he can't. So, he has to figure out how to kind of deal with those emotions of, I like this girl, but I can't have this girl, and this is this guy, and, you know, so it's kind of funny for Deck. Poor guy he just can't seem to get anything, he can't seem to get laid. Oh,
poor guy.
I know, and he's so cute, and he just can't seem to make it happen in any point, you know. Mm-hmm. So, he ends up healing Rain from an injury.
Okay.
And he sends him on his way. So in his mind, he's helping.
Right.
But he's also getting rid of him.
Yeah.
So, it's kind
of fun.
Self-serving,
it sounds like.
It's a little self-serving. But, you know, the guy hasn't had sex in like 3 years, and he's like, oh, you know, good Lord, I need to get laid.
Right.
So it's funny. And Deck's story is darker.
Okay.
So people can expect to see a side of Declan that they would have never thought was there.
Right.
He is a lot more intense when he's on his own. Mm-hmm. And he has some interesting preferences, we'll just say.
Wow.
So
that's a tease.
Yes. So I think it's fun, and I think readers will like him. And I've had a lot of fans that love Declan.
Yes.
And they're like, what are you going to do with him? What are you going to do with him?
Love Deck. Uh-huh.
And I think that people will appreciate him in the next book. I think they will. He's fun.
They're all great characters, so I'm excited to see them each get their own stories.
Yeah, I didn't want to completely say goodbye, but they're so interesting. Because here you really only see parts of them.
Yes.
So they need their own point of view to really
Right.
show who they are and where they came from.
Right.
And I like to think that parts of Deck's story are actually very sad. You know, where he comes from is a very sad place.
Right.
And that shapes him.
I'm sure.
So, I don't know. So I'm working on that. I've got 3 more books planned for this series. I've got Bad Bad Demon series, and I'm trying to squeeze in a novella of Micah and Killian because I can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
And I wrote a sex scene in Deck's book, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't their book. It was like 3 pages, and it was great. It was awesome. I was like, oh, I should have put this in one of the other books.
Right.
And then I went, wait a minute, this isn't even their book.
Right.
Cut, paste.
Yeah.
So I think I need to do maybe a novella or something with them.
I love those. And whether it's published in hard form or whether it's something you download from your site, or I would definitely want to read more of them.
Yeah, and I'm playing with that idea. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet.
So I think we're probably about to wrap up here, but we thank you all for watching. We hope you've learned some fun things about this great series. And Laurie, if you want to follow Laurie, let her tell you where to follow her.
Okay, so if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Laurie Olerich -author. And I also have a website, and it is www.laurieolerich.com. It's very simple. And Twitter, it's @LaurieOlerich. One word. And that's about it. I'm working on other social media, but I'm just not there yet.
And make sure to pick the books up, and I know you're going to love them. Make sure to leave your reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. Those reviews, folks, help authors tremendously. So just make sure you read them, you love them, leave your reviews. Friend Laurie on Facebook. Look for a fan page.
Yep.
And make sure to get on there and see all of the latest news. And we thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.